Many sentient creatures contemplate their creation. Who are we? Who brought us into existence? What for? For us, the Savvarians, these questions were never the philosophical nature. We know who created us, we know how, and we used to know for what purpose. Clouds have always bypassed Savvarah. These crowded around but never dared cross, some kind of invincible border. There amidst evergreen forests basking in the eternal light of the sun, sat and coddled this city hidden from the eyes of stranger. The city that was our prison. City of the sun. Click to continue. It's always better to move on 4 paws. Havish did not mind crawling, at least he kept his head, which was use after all. With his heart beating soundly, Hasha making his way through the sleeping brothers. Heavy silence interrupted by only snoring puffins straightened every rustle. He restrained himself from rushing forward. Freedom was so close. She was so close. Something touched his ankle. Hasha halted. He almost fell to the ground but didn't want to make a noise. All was fine, just one of his brother's tosses and turns. He gathered his strength and continued moving. How many times has he sneaked out of here? And every time he thought over a plan in case he got caught. Finally, fresh air. Hasha called in the dark, still too soon to relax. Who knows what can happen if he gets caught, though he could always talk his way out of referring to one master's errand. Nobody dare goes against Loka's will, no matter how absurd it may be. Blood rushed to his head, yet it was not fear, excitement. Once again, he wants to prove himself that he can wander around in Kota to his own whim. Is there any other Savvarian who can do this? The Kota domain was enclosed by a wall of thickets. What useless beauty. Hasha navigated his motley maze better than Kota's servants themselves. Knew every flower here and would notice any change in their order. What were they called? Whatever. All these bushes, all their shapes, the sizes that saved his life more than once. Even now, the lizard watching the estate sitting in the shade of a spreading tree, a familiar silhouette gaped profile, a shiver ran down his back. It was her. Kara. Though apparently he arrived too late. Following the other servants, the girl was returning to her modest home. Call Kira. Kira jerked if she had seen a ghost. Her face changed abruptly in the gesture to Savvarah. Go away. Kira, are you coming? Yes, I think I left some tools. I'll catch up with you soon. Hasha never came even closer. She shushed him. What are you doing here? I told you not to come. Aren't you happy to see me? We've already agreed that this can't go on. I don't remember agreeing to anything. I just wanted to see you. Oh, please don't make such a face. It's dangerous, they might see us. Are you afraid they'll be jealous? Of course I am, and you should be too. It's all your fault. One look at you, and it's just kind of hard to be afraid, you know. You could always win me over. But it's serious now, Has. So are my intentions. Look what I've got here. He handed her a stone. It looked quite ordinary. A circle with spikes and scratched on it the sun. What is it? I once saw the masters give each other, well, different things. That's what I made for you, as a keepsake. She stared at this clumsy drawn sun for some time. This is the only kind of sun that can shine for us. And yet we must stop. Should we get caught, we won't. There is no future for us, unless the Saints Masters should decide to arrange a marriage between 2 loving souls. Let me ask them. Enough, that's a bad joke. You know that... Oops, I forgot. I skipped. I've always anticipated our meetings, but this is just going to be our death. Perhaps you are right. You remember me, won't you? I will. I was sneaking back following the same path. He didn't feel too disappointed though. I'll stop him coming back in a couple days. The next night, he escaped from the hut again. She wasn't there. He waited longer than usual and almost let his guard down. Buzz couldn't sleep. He was asleep with bad thoughts. Now it was making sense. Her harsh tone, sudden request to part. She must have found another male along her own people that would be much easier. Rosa dropped to a vicious, heavy sleep. It was dark and damp. The visage chill always seemed especially pleasant after the brutal sunlight. Savvarah woke up. The dugout that he had sworn brothers had called home. He woke by himself. Like most of the others, they were trained to get up early. He didn't get up. He buried his face in the wet wall when something poked him in the thigh. He turned around. Above him stood the eldest Bishad. He was an old lizard of the Archon tribe. He had lived there for long before Savvarah was born, and sworn father of Tudor. Most of the night, house servants. Sleeping well, darling. Should I tuck you in? Rose jumped up briskly, hiding his surprise. He could not remember any morning errands. What's up? You dare ask me what's up? You should be working already. Look at yourself, all brawn and still no brain. But what are you mumbling about? The sun is up, and you should be as well. Remember, do I have to teach you a lesson once more? Or do you want to go straight to the pit? Savvarah was looking down at the floor, listening to Asud. Asud grumbled often. It seemed to be a matter of habit, but Asud remembered Asud when he was younger. His red-haired lizard once bit off a piece of the guilty one. He is the Archon tribe, after all, and they are not to be trifled with. Even robust young men like Hajah don't scare him. What's taking so long? Get out. To disobey Asud was to disobey the Master, a deadly sin. They came out of the surface. Savvarah winced at the bright sun. Gaian, Kur, and Sashkin were already standing outside. They were lizards from the tribe. And why are you standing here? Go fetch the pelican. What are you staring at, Haz? We'll manage without him. The pelican at this hour? The master must be going somewhere. It doesn't often happen so early in the morning. And you'll be watching the babies until we get back. Me? I'm no female. You'll be whatever I tell you to be. Why so grumpy? Didn't you enjoy your rest? Well then shut up and get to work. The children mean problems. Should one wake the master. Everyone will have problems, especially Savvarah himself. The children too, they can easily tossed into a pit just as well. The garden was bustling with running children. Savvarah clapped his hands. Savvarah, what are you doing here? You are too wet behind the ears to ask questions. We thought Asud was coming. Asud, what is he supposed to do here? He said he would tell a story. Ah yes, a story. Savvarah chuckled. Nothing changes here. He even remembers sitting here and listening to the Asud story, the one he always told the little ones. I know this story too. What's it about? Oh, it's essential. This story about our people. Everyone must know it. Savvarah closed his eyes, thinking where he would begin. The lizards of Archon tribe were considered bloodthirsty and narrow-minded, but Asud was a good storyteller. Have you seen the sun? The sun always shone above Savvarah, but there was times when the rays could not reach the earth. The whole land in the grip of the impenetrable darkness. There was nothing but blackness through which the sun rays could not break through. The sun sent his son, Arkol, here. Arkol came down to our land and dispensed the darkness. Savvarah has become the only haven of life on earth. Is there still darkness outside of Savvarah? No. Only fragments of the darkness remain. The clouds that surround Savvarah still strive to absorb the sun. After Arkol, the leper came to this land, his younger brothers. Promised to tell the story of our people. Ouch, why? Don't interrupt the elders. The smell of blood attracts a predator, so does the triumph of what's been. Flesh? Flesh? What are you talking about? The triumph of flesh. The predators are attracted to blood and flesh. No, nothing like that. Now shut up. Now I remember. But just the smell of blood attracts the predator, so does the triumph of life attracts death and destruction. My line was better. Hordes of heralds of destruction appeared at the borders of our native Savvarah. They were called the Dominion of the Horned Ones. The Dominion strove to invade Sahara and raze everything here to the ground. They threw stones and fires at the forest when the earth itself rebelled the horde, when one commands of Arkal. But why would the Horned Ones do all this? The reason why the sun warms and the trees cast a shadow. Such is their essence. And will there be any talk about Savvarans at all? Of course. Then Arkal created us, the 7 Savarian tribes. We became the army of the sun, fighters that stood to protect not just Savvarah, but life itself. And which tribe is the strongest? Everyone knows it's but only we can do magic. You're lying, you've never done any magic yet. Every tribe has its own strengths and weaknesses. But it was the tribe that led the Savarians to battle. We fought the Horned Ones outside Savvarah and battled Wasteland. We saved Savvarah. And only then we returned home. But it wasn't the end of our path. After Savvarah's rescue, we were awarded the highest honor to serve the Loka and Akal. Havash nearly jumped to his feet. The old lizard of Arantran was headed towards them. Asad looked displeased as if Harsha had done something wrong. Off to your brothers. The netted house itself, bathing in bright rays, seemed to shine against the background clear sky and lush gardens. A huge snow-white building in the near estate was a miracle of architecture compared to the miserable dugouts of the Savarians. But such were all the houses of the masters. They were not built by slaves of any course, but the Lokans themselves, whom they created by magic. Curtis and his brothers carried a plankton to the steps. It looks like another butchery. Oh, this early. The butchery bought most entertainment up for the masters in punishment for the slaves. It was held in place by the arena. The Savarians named it the pit. The servants were released into the arena. Sometimes they fought with monsters, sometimes they fought with other servants. Sometimes if a servant did something very wrong, the arena became a place for an elaborate execution. Quiet, he's coming. The snow-white road of the master was blending the palace in the background. Isker was one of the elders in the house Nair, although he looked young. The Lokan were not immoral, but they aged very slowly. Many generations of Savarians can change before their master's curls turn gray. And he was being carried. They all lifted the bulky pelican. Oh, this is what a pelican is. Okay. I unshake the screen. The same time as Asad's command. Together they moved in sync smoothly and confidently. Asad trained them for a long time. The master's comfort is priority. The master could walk in the air, but for some reason they did not give up such primitive means of movement. Asad could only guess that these green-skinned creatures were thinking. After the master's estate, the arena can only surprise with its size. Numerous spectators' seats stretched in front of the plain-looking arena. There were Savarians everywhere. The lizards, jailers, the warders, the cleaners, Havash and his brothers standing near Asur. Only the masters were allowed to sit. Now another Loka and Kata have sat next to Asur. Hava was studying his servants. Mine will be here today. No way, what has she done? She escaped from my domain at night. The eldest said she was seeing some outsider. So I had to forgive her, but as a warning I ordered Crochus to mate with her. She stabbed him last night. Stabbed? Well, smashed his throat with some stone. And he decided to send her to her arena. Quite noble. I don't like violence. Huh? She protected herself and your response to send her to arena to fight, but you don't like that. That doesn't make sense. Havesh was stunned, his heart pounding wildly. Obviously, it's the girl. Haradnik had not a name, but Havesh only understood everything. He was sick of how careless the Loka had talked about mating. And it wasn't the only thing that infuriated Havesh. Arka learned about the night escaped servants. Havesh was sure that Crotus regarded the female as a delicious bone thrown to his master. Huh? Fights in the arena were different. If a crime was not serious, a lizard fought another lizard. The winner survived. It deepened entirely the master's will whether the servant returned or stayed in the catapults of the pit. Fights with monsters were much worse. Only the most lucky survived. Such fights were intended for the exceptionally guilty, or for those who had been living in the basements of arena for too long. The execution was something very rare. Harsha's never witnessed it. In such case, the servant was opposed by the magic of Master Orkdal himself. This kind of death was slow and painful. The last fight was announced. Harsha felt his heart stop beating when he saw it seemed to be a dream. A bad dream. She was released into the arena.